Morning. Hi, everybody. I'm PJ Kwong, Mazen Thomas, Charlene Bailey. We are 3Turn 3. Good morning, friends. How are you?
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
How are
Good
you?
morning, Charlie.
I love your hair, Charlene. That was
Thank
well worth
you.
skipping the show last week. We didn't say why you were doing it. We just said that you were doing
But
it.
you're not supposed to tell the people what's going
Shh.
on.
I'm getting my first haircut since the pandemic started. Remember how I usually have short hair? I'm not getting cut
It
short
is
again. I'm going to stay
fabulous.
long. Thank you. Anyway, we should probably be talking about skating rather than talking about hair. Your hair's nice too, Mazen.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks to not leave me out.
Exactly. You know what he's like. Okay, friends, we've got a great special guest coming up in just a few minutes, and that is CBC's Scott Russell, or Scrussel, as I like to call him. And he is somebody who is a walking encyclopedia where sports are concerned. He's somebody who loves figure skating. He calls me up sometimes in the summertime just to talk skating. I want to say, Scott, get outside. It's sunshine. There's no ice. Anyway, he loves skating. He loves the Olympic Games. We may be able to get him to tell the story about how he almost got his head kicked by Jennifer Robinson at the Olympic Games. That's one of my favorite stories. It wasn't out of malice. She was quite excited, and but he lived to tell the tale. Let's just go that way. So, those of you out there who are sports fans, Scott's going to talk to us about skating. But if you have any questions, any comments that you have for him, he's such a good sport. I know that he'll answer them. And as I said, he is probably Canada's leading voice on sports of all kind. Amateur sports for sure. Road to the Olympic Games on CBC. You want to check it out. And CBC, of course, is covering the Olympic Games, which is going to be super cool. Okay, my friends, what do you guys think about the Olympics? Do you
Go
watch?
for it,
Are you
Madeline.
excited?
Go for it. He's about to explode. Go for it,
Getting
Madeline. Go.
excited. Getting excited. First of all, I'm an Olympic junkie. I watch as much as I possibly can, even in those sports that I really have no knowledge about whatsoever. But I just think that it's so amazing to see these athletes be able to fulfill a dream and make it to the Olympic Games and to compete at the best of their ability. And I just think it's amazing. And the backstories, from all of these athletes getting there, I think it's phenomenal. And of course, skating. It's
Yeah.
all about the skating at the Winter Olympics.
I mean, you got to the national level as a pair skater. Did you compete? You competed internationally as a professional pair skater, and I know that you have had students compete internationally as a coach. Did you ever want to get to the Olympic Games?
Do you know what? For me personally, I was able to compete at the World Professional Championships in
Yep.
singles. And
Oh, singles. I thought it was pairs.
yeah, no, singles. And so for me, just being able to hear your name representing your country was just the be all and end all. And I was like, okay, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you very much. Can I go now?
What about you, Charlene? Did you ever have dreams of competing at the Olympics?
Oh God, I'm sure I have a full file of childhood schoolwork that has like Olympic rings all over it. I was obsessed with skating. I breathed, ate, slept skating at all times. So definitely a dream of mine. But I think uh, the great thing about watching the Olympic Games when it comes on, as Mazen said, is that we get to enjoy so many sports that we don't normally see because we're so in the skating world. And I think it's just a really beautiful thing because all of us, came from competitive training backgrounds and we know what it's like and we know about the commitment and the dedication that it requires. And so when you see these people really just like, doing it, you can't help but get the feels. I'm usually a big crier when people are really successful. So it's a very soggy section of my
Scott is too.
February.
Do you know what? I always wanted to get to the Olympic Games, but I was essentially a talentless skater. Passion for the sport, smart enough to be able to take the lessons that were taught to me and parlay it into a great coaching business. I mean, I loved coaching. But I have to say, I had a dream of getting to the Olympics and I've gotten there every time since 2002, with the exception of London. And that's been as a stadium announcer. So I never knew how I would get there and couldn't be more thrilled to be there and have a front row seat at the best sport that the world has to offer is just like, it's just unbelievable. Before we're going to introduce Scott, let's quickly talk a little bit about the Grand Prix that's happening this week, or as I like to say, I see London, I see France. Oh no, wait. I just only see France. It's the Grand Prix of France. I have written about it on my blog, which is pjkwong.com/blog. Check it out. It's quite cheeky this week. I've gotten quite cheeky. So you may want to look at it.
You?
It's a lot of fun. I know. It's
Yeah,
hard to
that was my reaction too. Like, not you. No.
So I just decided that for me, the picks were pretty easy. I'm going to tell you who they are, and then you guys can say yay or nay. Yuma Kagiyama in the men's event. Okay, he's first of all world silver medalist. He's had 2 wins so far this season, one at Beijing, where I became a believer in him, by the way. That was the test event. And then Grand Prix Italy. He's my pick for men. What do you guys say?
I'm with you. I'm here with it.
You know what? I think I'm looking forward to actually seeing not only him skate, but then at the same time, I'm looking forward to watching our Canadian Keegan. Keegan Messing skate.
Yeah.
And as well, you know what, the American Jason Brown. I really enjoy their programs. They draw you in. You hope for the best for them to be able to just do what they can do to the best of their ability. And so I'm really kind of looking forward to watching, all 3 of those guys skate.
But who's going to win? This is PJ's Podium Picks, not PJ's Podium. I like to watch everybody.
You asked that question. It's so tough. I mean, you know what?
You have to pick one.
I know.
That's right.
Okay. All right. If I had to pick one, I think it's going to be the young Japanese boy. Yeah.
Yuma.
So.
Okay, perfect. Anna Sherbakova from Russia. As I put in my blog, I wouldn't have been able to pick her out of a lineup not too long ago, but that all changed when she won the world title earlier this year. She also won Grand Prix Italy. She is a force of nature. I think she's going to win. What do you guys think?
Well, let's just say that I think if I was to put my money down on a country's athlete that's probably going to take that event, I would probably put my money down on Russia.
Okay.
Is that a safe bet?
That was my thank you for the translation, Mazen. I appreciate that.
Okay, pairs. Alexandra Boykova and Dmitry Kozlovsky from Russia. They're the current world bronze medalists. And as I said in my blog, they had their keisters handed to them in Skate America. But I like to say that what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. What do you guys think?
I'm all about them. I love them. I love them. I love them. I love them. I have always loved them. I have seen them, I believe, in Montreal. And I adore them.
Okay,
perfect. Mazen.
That's awesome. You know what? Yeah, they're probably a good a team to place your money down on. And you know what? I have to also say, I'm just really looking forward to watching Vanessa and Eric skate as well. Yeah, me too. I think that they're getting more mileage, behind them, each time they go out to perform and to compete. So I'm just really looking forward to seeing, what's next for them.
Garth is just commenting in on the background about the pairs event. I'm not really sure why. And then ice dance. Okay, this one's kind of a gimme. Gabriela Papadakis and Guillaume Cizeron.
Really?
My early, middle, and late pick for Olympic champions. I kind of think they're going to do it in France. What do you guys think?
I mean, if they didn't do it in France, then it would just be weird. It would be uncomfortable for all of us. Yeah.
So let's just do it. Guillaume and Gabriella, just go for it, okay? Make us look good. That's what we want to talk about. Okay, before we get too much further ahead, Scott Russell's going to come in. Scott, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, how are you? Hello. How are you, Charlene Mizzen? How are you, PJ? It's always nice to see you. And PJ, I think you're in line for a haircut. Everybody else has got a haircut. I got a haircut. We're all ready to go. So
it's my turn. At 3:30 today, there will be pictures. Don't worry. Check out my Instagram. Listen, there's a great question that's just come in from Funny Dog, who's one of our loyal and regular viewers. Hi, Funny Dog. I don't know the answer to this. Are our national team members still carded A and B? If any of you know, great. If you don't, we'll try and find out for you. Do you know?
I don't know specifically, but I know that obviously they can go to senior A's and senior B's if that is the question. I don't know if they're carded as such. I think it's up to the discretion of the federation. That being said, I could be completely out to lunch on that.
Not out to lunch, you.
I love going out for lunch. Yes.
Me too. Can't wait to get back to it. Okay, Mazen, do you have any information? I don't actually know. I should know, but I don't. We'll find out. Hey, Funny Dog, thank you for the question. We will find out. Okay, I have a photo that I want to show you three, and I want your reaction to this iconic photo.
Oh no.
You ready? Nope. Where were you, and what were you thinking? Here we go.
Oh,
Oh, that's not fair.
love it.
I was in the womb.
Oh,
Literally.
Okay, we're kicking you
Literally,
off
I
the
was in the
broadcast. We're kicking you off the broadcast.
Okay, bye.
I forgot how long ago that was. I was in the basement of my house, the same house I'm in now, with everything crossed and just talking to myself. My kids were super, super young, and it was just kind of a quiet moment for me. And I just about screamed all by myself. But it's one of the iconic Olympic moments. Mazen, you were around. I know you were. And Scott, you were around like I was.
Yeah.
Any thoughts about that moment?
Yeah, I tell you what, PJ, that was one of the great moments in Canadian Olympic history, as far as I'm concerned. And I mean, it just illustrated at the Calgary Games in 1988 how important figure skating was to the Olympic movement in general. I mean, figure skating stole the show in Calgary in 1988, and a large part of the story was Liz Manley. That beautiful silver medal at the Saddle Dome. It was absolutely, we had heard the story about how she had struggled, and then she came through with this miraculous skate. Everybody had their eyes on Debbie Thomas and Katarina Witt, but it was really a moment for Canadian skating and for Elizabeth Manley. And I talk about figure skating stealing the show in Calgary, and that was quite simply a precursor of what is still there at the Olympic Winter Games, is that figure skating is a primo sport. It's the centerpiece sport. I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong. I love big air snowboarding and I love all these other things, but figure skating is the marquee attraction. And we had the Battle of the Bryans, we had Katarina Witt, the Battle of the Carmens, we had Elizabeth Manley, we had Wilson and McCall win that bronze medal in the ice dance for Canada. Figure skating was the show in Calgary, and it's still the show at the Olympic Winter Games. That's why I love it so much. It's great drama.
Well, and the fact that it was Calgary, Canada, and those Canadian athletes were just amazing. So, Maz, what about you? I mean, you were 2, of course, at the time, but just learning how to turn those dials.
Thank you. All I have to say is, so 88 was actually my last time competing at the national championships. And so all the buzz was about the senior events and the Canadian athletes prepping for the Calgary Winter Games. And I couldn't have been more happier than really all of our athletes, because you know what, having just competed at the national championships, knowing most of them, being friends, with all of them, and I just couldn't have been happier. Brian Orser skated his heart out. Elizabeth Manley's silver medal. It's funny, her silver medal for me actually turned into a gold medal opportunity for her. She won the hearts of all Canadians. She won the hearts of so many more people all around the world, just to be able to embrace her. And, they won that medal as much as she won that medal for all of Canada. And it was amazing. It was amazing.
Here's a final comment on that. And again, back from Funny Dog. Tears of joy from Canada's most famous armchair critic saying, "Holy crap."
And you know what? That legacy lived on. For anyone who needs to steal my identity, I was born in 88, summer of 88. And, that legacy from those Olympics lived on. I remember doing a speech about Liz Manley, I think in my grade 7 class. Those years were really, they were a chunk of golden years that really carried on and on and on. And I think, my generation of skaters really jumped off of that. That's why we wanted to skate. And it got into 92 as well. I think that's when we kind of actually realized what was going on around us. But it was that era of skating that really, I think, fueled my generation of skaters.
Do you know what I think is kind of remarkable too? And Scott, you might be able to comment on this. I think as Canadians, we're known as being a little bit deferential. So no, that's okay. No, you take the gold. I'll be fine with the silver. But I think that this was really, with such a dominant team, and of course we had the same kind of dominance in 2018. It really was a moment of for Canada to just sort of say, no, we are good at this. What do you think? Did it help with the Canadian identity, Scott? What do you think?
Absolutely helped with the Canadian identity, PJ. As a sporting nation at a home games, and recall that at those games in Calgary, Canada did not win a gold medal. They won a total of 5 medals. 3 of those medals were in figure skating. Brian Orser's silver medal, Liz's silver medal, and the bronze medal by Wilson and McCall in the ice dance. And then Karen Percy won a couple of medals in alpine skiing. But as I said before, it was figure skating that became the centerpiece, and that Canadian figure skaters were at the center of the story. They were the ones that lit up the crowd. Orser's performance was absolutely spectacular. So was Liz Manley's. And then, Tracy Wilson, Rob McCall, they pushed the needle ahead a little bit in the ice dance. They were something. Sure. They were something different. And so I think Canadian skaters made a real impression. But, I want to extend this story a little bit more, because I love the fact about Liz Manley in '88 that in many ways that was an underdog story. And I loved it because she was not supposed to be the one to be at the center of things. It was all about Katarina Witt and Debbie Thomas and all those things. And Liz kind of came out of the blue. I think there's potential for that kind of a moment in a different way. It doesn't apply to Canadian skaters, but it applies to a certain skater at these Olympics in Beijing, if she can get there. And you talk about the Russian teenagers, Sherbakova, Trusova, Valieva. And they're wonderful. They're fantastic.
Yep.
But I really hope that Elizaveta Tuktamusheva can get to the Olympic Games. Here's somebody that's been the world championship silver medalist. She won Skate Canada as a 14-year-old, and she has never been to the Olympics. And wouldn't it be fantastic if she could get there, which is a huge mountain to climb in the first place. But if she could get there, and as a 24, 25-year-old, win a medal at the Olympic Games, I think it would be very important for skating. I think it would be really heartening for sport in general to see that happen. Mm-hmm. I'm really looking forward to following her story.
That's it's when we first saw her, I think it was 2015 Skate Canada. And then we thought to ourselves, or maybe it's 2015 World. Anyway, in that time period, you think to yourself, oh, wow, this one's going to be, she's the next one. She's the Michelle Kwan who's going to be on the podium for the next however many years till she gives it up. And then all of a sudden, that just wasn't the case. Now, I have to give credit to Russian officials. Because just like the American officials before them, or at the same time as them, they really judge what they see on the ice. So if you want that Olympic berth, you got to earn it. There's no reputation that precedes you that says, we're going to give it to you because we, body of work. No body of work rules in Russia or in the United States. For the United States, for the women, it's always been that way. You want that spot? Mm-hmm. That's me clawing your way to the top. See my clawing? That's my choreography for clawing. Never mind. Anyway, but that's one of the things I really appreciate with that kind of judging or evaluating is you got to skate. Skating is heartbreaking. Kurt Browning said it to me. He said, you got to go out there and for 4 minutes, you start off badly and you continue to fall down. There's no do-over. There's no, let's just stop the music. Let me take a breath. Let's start again. if you're terrible in front of a whole huge audience. He said, unlike hockey, and I don't know about anything about hockey, where they jump on for a shift, I think they call it, and it's some seconds, and if it's terrible, they jump off again. So, and besides, with all those pads and things, who actually even sees them? So, except for the number. But in skating, it's very, very raw and it's very vulnerable, which is, I think, why we all can identify with it so strongly. I mean, Maz and Charlene and myself, and Scott, you've probably had moments in other sports that you've played in where when you're terrible, there's just no place to hide and you still have to persevere.
Well,
So
you nailed it, PJ. Is there, you can't hide in figure skating, and that's, when I first began to cover figure skating, which was not all that long ago, but I think it was around 2005 or something like that at Skate Canada. I was immediately struck by that. Here's an audience of 6,000 in that case. I think it was in Kitchener, something like that. And a skater goes out there. There's no place to hide. In hockey, as you mentioned, you take a shift of 45 seconds, and if you don't feel it, you can hide on your shift. You just float around. You can't do that in figure skating. But I was also struck by the thing that is beautiful about figure skating from someone who appreciates sport is that it is this tremendous combination of outstanding athleticism. I mean, those skaters, they get up over the boards when they do the jumps, right? So it's outstanding athleticism, but it is exquisite artistry, choreography.
yeah.
So it's the beautiful combination of art and sport, which I think is unmatched. Perhaps with the exception of gymnastics, but it's absolutely astounding, and I have a great appreciation for it. And the guy that I saw get up over the boards when I got up close to him was Patrick Chan. I mean, like, the guy is just an incredible athlete. So yeah, I love it. And but there is, Kurt's right, nowhere to hide. You fall flat in your ass, and everybody knows it.
And several times over sometimes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I had a great conversation with world champion Caitlin Osmond and Olympic medalist, and it was at a Skate Canada, and she had a terrible free program. When I say terrible, she did fall 5 times, and every time she would get up, and I said to her, because I recorded a podcast with her the next day, and I wanted to ask the question in a delicate and sensitive way, but it needed to be asked, because I said to myself, why didn't you just double everything when you knew that the jumps weren't happening? She had injured herself sort of the day before in the short program, like a pulled something or other. And she said, I wanted to be able to look myself in the mirror. This competition is about me, and I would not have been satisfied if I had just phoned it in with double jumps for the rest of the program, even if I had remained standing. So there's something about that kind of heart too, and again, it's not only in figure skating, but there's something about that kind of heart that I find really compelling.
I agree because you know what? I mean, you can take it to any other sport as well.
Yep.
You can take it to half pipe. You can take it to moguls, skiing moguls and whatnot. And it's like, if something doesn't work quite right, then all of a sudden the athlete just kind of glides by and just glides down the rest of the event. But yet in skating, you know what? No, there's still music playing. You still got to plug away at it and do the best that you can do. And I think what's so remarkable about our sport is that it can all be over in just a matter of a couple of minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It can all be fantastic in just a matter of a couple of minutes. So I think that's what just makes our sport so exciting to be able to watch, because there is no mulligan. There's no do-over. There's no, can we just stop and press play once again? Type of thing. Unless of course the power goes out in the building. And then,
which has happened. Yeah, 1984 Worlds, Ottawa.
Right. And so I think for athletes and for fans being able to watch our sport, that's what makes the sport so exciting. And I mean, you have to also, each of our disciplines in skating, but I mean, in pair skating, especially, between the lifts and the throws and the side-by-side jumps nowadays. I mean, I can go back, and I've even told some students to go back and watch on YouTube the 1984 World figure skating championships held in Ottawa and watching Barb Emberhill and Paul Martini do their free program. And just, just the sheer nervousness that we all had for them just to be able to do it. And they were just perfect from the moment that that music started to play until that music was finished. They were just perfect.
They were favorites for the the 84 Olympics in Sarajevo. And of course, they had a terrible skate and it all just sort of slipped away. So that was redemption. Interestingly, Rostelecom Cup comes up in another week after IC London, IC France, which I think they should rename that Grand Prix.
What's the end of that line, PJ? IC London, IC France.
Wait,
I see somebody's underpants.
This is daytime.
That's it.
I didn't want to go there, Scott. Do you remember? Okay, I'm just going to say one thing. Kirsten Moore Towers, Michael Marinaro headed to Rostelecom Cup, and Kirsten put in her Instagram redemption. That's what she's looking for. That's what Barb and Paul did. Okay, I just want to say a little side story. Scott Russell was on the side of a mountain somewhere. I was in a control room, and there was a producer who was going to cue me to talk to Scott about Patrick Chan. It was Grand Prix final maybe, or Grand Prix or whatever. And there were a bunch of middle-aged, I can say that because I'm one of them, but not of that particular group, middle-aged ladies who were throwing panties on the ice for Patrick. So I coined
they did not.
Yeah, just for fun. Totally for fun. Anyway, so I coined them chanties. So Scott and I had a little sort of like back and forth. Anyway, there were a few fans who wrote me and said that they would they'd never watch me again because they were so horrified. And I said, that's the news, people. There, Craig Drebett, God bless him. He remembers chanties. Exactly. Hashtag it's been whatever. Okay, I'm going to ask you a question, Scott, that's very specific to you, but Craig wanted to know, he was 7 in 1988, perfect games for him to watch. And Craig knows every high performance, everything. He is a high performance sport fan to the max. So Craig, thank you so much for joining us. Scott, I have a question to you. It doesn't have to be about figure skating, but it can. You're a broadcaster and you're sitting in the mix zone of a high performance event, whether it's, Olympics or whatever else. And an athlete comes off after having had a disastrous performance. How do you handle it? Because you've got to ask the questions. I've always been curious because you handle things like that like a champ, but does it get you inside? Like, can you think of an example where it was tricky? Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it is a very tricky situation, particularly when an athlete comes through the mixed zone, knowing full well that going in that he or she could have been the champion, was expected to be the champion, and somehow it didn't unfold the way they wanted it, and it's an opportunity lost. It could at times be a life's work that has evaporated in the blink of an eye. So you have to be very delicate, and I think the most important thing when you approach a situation like that is to be empathetic, to be understanding, and to listen to the athlete as they try to tell you what happened in that current situation. Not to make any judgments out of the gate and say, hey, this all went wrong. What happened? It's more asking to see, how did you see that? What happened out there on the ice, and how did you relate to what was going on in the ice? The best example of this that I can give is not one where I did the mix zone interview, but where Scott Oake did, my colleague. And that was at the 2004 Olympics in Athens, when the Canadian story was that the world champion hurdler, Perdita Felicien, was going to win the gold medal. There was no question in the 100-meter hurdles. And in the final, which she qualified first to the final, she hit the second hurdle and went down and took out a couple of other competitors with her. And that was the end of Perdita's story. And you know what? She walked into the mix zone, and all Scott Oake did was say, hi, Perdita, the people in Canada are eager to hear from you. And
that's
Perdita
a great way to open it.
Perdita just started talking, and Scott didn't interrupt. He didn't question her. He let her emote, and I think that athletes, want to do that. They want to speak to the people back home and explain, how this has been very difficult for me, and this is what happened. So it's a tough situation. It really is. It really is.
If people want to watch you, as you're getting ready for the Olympic Games, uh, what are you following? Like, I mean, you've got so many sports in your head. Every week as you do the road to the Olympic Games, what sort of things jump out at you? Are there priorities for what you're covering and how you're covering it?
Well, the priority right now is the World Cup season essentially is beginning for every one of the winter sports. In the lead up, and it's a hurry up offense for these games in Beijing, because we've had so little international competition throughout the pandemic that now we're trying to cram these concentrated World Cup seasons into the next 8 weeks or whatever it is in order to get ready for Beijing. So we'll be big into World Cup Alpine. Lake Louise is next week, the men's downhill and the speed events. It's a great event, great Canadian event. The World Cup bobsleigh season begins, and Justin Cripps and Canada 1 will get rolling in Innsbruck, Austria this weekend. Figure skating is well underway, and we're streaming everything in terms of figure skating on CBC. We've got Skate Canada, the national championships, which will be hotly contested because those Olympic spots are up for grabs for Canadian skaters, and that's going to be interesting to see how that develops. So every major sport, the World Cup season, we're following them right now, and there's a lot to take in. It's like drinking from a fire hose right now.
Right.
As we get ready for Beijing. But I talk about the Beijing Games, and it's such an interesting situation given what's going on politically and with regard to human rights in that country. I believe the games are going to go ahead under protest in many countries. I think it's important that they go ahead for the Olympic movement, that they go ahead for the athletes. And I think about figure skating in China. And one of the things that I'm really looking forward to at the games is the appearance of essentially the poster children of the games in Beijing, Sui and Han, who are the two-time world champions in the pairs. I mean, only Chinese national fans will be allowed into the arena. It'll be packed. That'll be a major event. They're coached by Hong Bojiao, one of the great legends of the sport, the only Chinese figure skater along with Xue Zhen to win a gold medal at the Olympic Games. That will be a centerpiece event, and I can't wait for that to unfold. It'll be huge for the country and for the fans of figure skating to see that. But it's going to be a very interesting time.
What about those fans, Scott? Because I have experienced in China at different times when I've gone with figure skating that the fans are extremely generous.
They are generous.
2 years when I first went 20 years ago, they didn't really have a feel for figure skating at all. They didn't really know sort of how to respond. But they've gotten very generous. What do you think about? Do you think that they're going to, go with all of the athletes? What's your feel?
I do think they're going to go with all the athletes. We were talking before we went on about the interesting story about the fans of Yuzuru Hanyu appealing.
He has fans?
Yeah, apparently so. And they're on social media. Apparently they're on social media. His fans appealed to Chinese government officials, when Yuzu gets there to the games, and we all know he's battling that ankle injury right now. But when he gets to the games, please, can the Chinese fans support Yuzuru Hanyu? And these are the fans that are making the appeal. And apparently one of the Chinese diplomatic officials has come out and said, don't worry. the fans of China will support Yuzuru Hanyu. There is no doubt about that. And, you know, I can only relate it to when I was there for the Olympics in Beijing in 2008. And as I was there also for the Paralympics. And the Bird's Nest Stadium is where they held the athletics events. And for the Paralympics, wheelchair racing, Chantal Petitclerc was there from Canada, the great wheelchair racer, Senator Chantal Petitclerc. I mean, the stadium was full, 90,000 people for the Paralympics, and supportive of every athlete from around the world. They wanted to be there and to see this great spectacle. And I have no doubt that that's what it's going to be like in Beijing for figure skating, for hockey, for, you know, speed skating. It's going to happen. The fans, I think, will be great. My own personal opinion is the Chinese people, every time I've encountered them, have been very gregarious and open, and they got a smile on their face. They are happy to be in the arena to see this great sport.
I think it's going to be wonderful. Okay, Mazen and Charlene, and Scott, you are so generous to come on and chat with us today, because we really wanted to talk to you about kind of like broad strokes, sport and skating. I want each of you to give me a favorite Olympic performance, one of a gazillion in figure skating. I'll go first, so you have time to think. Tessa Virtue and Scott Moir, Pyeongchang free dance, because the result was not by any means a certainty. So to watch them, holding my breath, and as an announcer, you really shouldn't hold your breath because you can't speak. But it really was one of those moments where I just was, you know, transported. And I mean, the result was amazing as well. So do you have any favorite Olympic performances? One.
Yes. So
One.
that is definitely one of them. I remember being at Bob Emerson's house, just like on the edge of my seat. I'm pretty sure I was screaming and jumping up and down. But mine would be definitely Joanie Rochette.
Oh, yes. Don't
ask me the year. I don't remember years. You
2010.
know the one.
2010.
Yes, thank you. In Vancouver. That was a big moment for me. Again, lots of tears, lots of crying around the Olympics. Just a beautiful moment for her to be able to lay it down, despite everything that was going on behind the scenes and on the public stage. Like, everyone knew what was going on, and it was really up to her to lay it down in those 4 minutes.
Amazing. Coaches David and Margaret Long say Torval Dean, 1984, Bolero.
Yeah.
I'm imagining they're talking about. That's a good one. Mazen, have you got one?
Well, first of all, I would have to say all of 2010 Olympics in Vancouver. I mean, the Olympic performances
He hates choosing one, Scott.
I know. I'm one of those guys that's like trying to be politically correct, but I mean, from Una Kim winning the gold medal in the ladies.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Just phenomenal, right? And
Tessa
and Scott winning their first Olympic gold medal there was just incredible. And of course, I totally agree, Charlene, with you, Charlene. Joanie Rochette, you know, just being able to go out there and to trust her training and to do what she did under such extraordinary circumstances. I think
read what's on the screen, Mazen.
I know. But you know what? I'd have to say, no, I'm not going to say. I like them all. That's it.
Scott, do you have a moment? Also, Gordieva Grikov. I mean, I could go on and on, but I just the first one that jumped out of my head.
Yeah, I do have a great moment. It's from 2018. It's not Tessa Virtue and Scott Moir, although they were absolutely wonderful, fantastic. Loved it. But 2018, for me, it was Caitlin Osmond. And I'll tell you why, is because it was that old thing that you used to see on Sesame Street. One of these things is not like the other. And Caitlin was that sort of senior, mature figure skater, and she was up against the teenage Russians, and she stood and delivered. I knew what she had been through with regard to injury, and how much Robbie had meant to her in terms of bringing her back to the ice and getting her confidence back again. And the thing that struck me about Caitlin was that she stood up and delivered in the moment and was rewarded.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that to me was a highlight figure skating moment. She was absolutely wonderful in that moment.
I think so too. Our last comment is going to go to Funny Dog. Shout out to everyone. Pre-registration for outdoor public skating no longer required. Woo woo! Hashtag progress. Scott Russell, Charlene Bailey, Mazen Thomas. You know, as you guys know, we are 3Turn3. Scott, you have been a fantastic guest. Thank you so much for joining us. You have been wonderful. And we're going to say goodbye. And we're going to probably be next Friday at 10 a.m., but it kind of depends on my schedule at the Junior Pan Am Games. But we'll figure it out. Not to worry. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.